Welcome back. So in our previous video, we installed a whole bunch of exterior doors in different locations, different conditions, and had a lot of interesting stuff happen. So you want to make sure you go back and look at that. But now we're ready to do the part that I enjoy much more, and that's putting the trim on these doors. Now, we spent a good bit of time this morning prepping it, and I started out by figuring how far over we wanted to be, and I took the level and we just drew a line and cut the siding. I just set the blade on my saw to exactly the right depth. There were a fair number of places that we had to take a multi-tool because the saw could only get so far. And then, and again, I've got to tell you that because there's no house wrap on this house, we're just doing the things what we think are the best. Now, this is the one location in the house that actually has Advantech sheathing, and so we used the zip system flashing. And what we wanted to do was get something that bridged between the door jamb and the sheathing. So we were really careful to detail all that out. Another thing that we did is we got zip system flashing tape up underneath that siding, but we went ahead and added a little metal cap piece also. Now the trim that we're going to be using is this Windsor 1 product. It's what they call 5/4, which means it's 1 inch thick and it's 3.5 inches wide. Now there's several things, and by the way, I absolutely love this stuff. You know, it's got clean, straight lines. It's perfectly flat. Every piece that you get, you know, is going to be a full 16-footer. You don't get just different lengths. There's a couple rules that we need to follow, though, while we're working with this product. The number one rule, which we've addressed, is anytime you make a cut, you know, it comes primed on both sides. But anytime you make a cut, you need to seal, reprime that cut. This is Kills. It's an interior-exterior primer. That's what we use in a spray can. You know, there's some other primers that you can use. This one's kind of nice because it dries quickly. And so I primed all the cuts, plus I primed myself a little bit, you know, just to make sure. I'm always going to get a little bit on me. But so, you know, the bottom, especially the top, I actually double primed the bottom and the end cuts of this header piece. Now, one thing that's going to look, just to keep you from being confused, you know, on the back of this product, it'll say Windsor 1 Plus Protected on the back. And so that's going to tell you that this is that exterior product that has a 30-year warranty if it's installed right. So having said that, there's some other rules, like you want to stay about they say a quarter of an inch away from flashings, I believe, and things like that. And actually, probably the best thing to do would be to go to their website and research it. But we stayed like where we had to step out around that brick. I stayed a full quarter of an inch away so that we can caulk it. And we've also left room, tried to keep a quarter of an inch here for a really good caulk joint. I'm going to change and add something that has nothing to do with this. But if you happen to have a brick home, you won't do you much good if it's already constructed, but if you happen to be retrimming, putting some molding up, whatever, you should leave a quarter-inch gap around all the windows and doors on a brick home so you can get a really good bead of caulk there, because even brick expands and contracts. Now, there's several good caulks that you can use, but the one that's kind of really readily available to us at the big box stores here is this Quad. And this is not a latex base, which what that means is if it gets on you, it's going to stay there a little bit longer than latex. But I think it's like a polyurethane based. So that's what we're going to be using for just any place we feel like we need to caulk. And by the way, if there was any spot around down here, around those sill pans, which we didn't put a sill pan here because we couldn't put one in. There wasn't a place for a turn down, but any place we saw that we thought could use a little more silicone today, we just siliconed it like crazy. We foamed this in, so we're just trying to take every step we can to make sure we don't have a water problem. The one thing that we're going to do that actually I'm just going to say doesn't meet the requirements for the warranty, but we don't have any choice. They say on the warranties you stay 2 inches above a concrete or a patio or something. and I was kind of harping yesterday, there's no use beating a dead horse, but would have been much better if this concrete had been poured about 1.5 inches down, so it was a little natural break coming up. Then we could have easily gotten that 2-inch. I've just double primed the bottom, and we're going to keep it up. We should be able to keep it up about 1 inch without it looking too bad. If we're working over here somewhere where we just had, grade like ground, I believe they want you to stay 6 inches off that. It could be 8. But again, the best thing to do is when you get ready to buy the product, just read all those instructions. So the next thing I'm going to do, our header, one other thing, just common sense, but when we're taping this, we brought the sides all the way up, and then we brought this tape over. I just think about, which way would water go. So brought these up, then taped over the top, pried that flashing piece up underneath. And one other thing that we're going to do at some point, well, actually we're going to count on the painter to do it, but we're going to take a bead of this really good caulk, and after we're all said and done, caulk over the top of this flashing. And then the painter's going to need to do a really good job caulking all those places that we've left him room to get a good bead of caulk. Okay. Again, we're using 2-inch galvanized nail, or 2.5-inch galvanized nails through the outside thick edge of this. On the inside edge, though, I'm going to use some 18 gauge that are about 1.75 inches to 2 inches thick. On this top side, I'm going to just tack this in because I'm not like 1,000% sure that I've got the length exactly right. We're just going to try and get a pretty good reveal. They're going to paint that. What I may even do is just put one nail in the middle, or maybe two. Then I'm going to grab a side piece and bring it up to make sure that I can get the alignment right. So that's looking pretty good. And here's where I made that notch. You can see I got pretty zealous with my primer, which is why I got primer all over me. Okay. And if we've got just a little bit of that zip tape showing, we'll just trim it off. One other little thing that I wanted to share, when you watch that other video, there were some times when we were having to scissor these door jambs back and forth, in and out a little bit to make sure that the door lined up with the weather stripping, which is like the most important thing we could possibly do. There are a couple places where when we scissored this out, or scissored it in, the face of our door jamb was a good ways back inside the face of the OSB. What I did there is I came over about 1 inch or so and I cut that OSB back. I didn't want to come all the way back and cut it back because we need something for our tape to stick to. But at any rate, that's how I kind of dealt with the fact that when we scissored it, sometimes the OSB is sticking out. Now, if you've ever trimmed an opening inside, and when we move inside to trim out the inside of these doors, it's a lot like beating the sheetrock out of the way, except it takes more work. Anyway, just want to let you know that, because what we don't want is to have, this trim can have a little tilt, but we don't want it tilted like 1/4 to 1/2 inch. All right. Having said that, I'm going to just get in here and get focused and trim the rest of this. I may need to take a pry bar and push that up just a little bit. There we go. And if there's a couple places where the nails don't quite, these shorter nails don't quite seem to be holding it, I can go back and nail it with the bigger nails. I'm just going to need to be super careful when I do that. I have strategically wrapped my air hose around this level. And put the ladder on it too, yeah. So, and then almost did again. All right. They can be a bit of a pain, but we still love nail guns. And by the way, the one I'm using is the Grex brand. I've had really good results with those. I probably should mention also that although when we bought the finished nails, we had to make sure we got galvanized. Any 18 gauge brad, as far as I know, there's not any 18 gauge brads that are made that aren't galvanized. All right, I'm going to switch to my bigger nailer. So I'm sitting here thinking, I believe, you know, we've got that zip tape up there, and although a nail, when it goes to that zip tape, probably is going to seal off. I'm not going to put very many nails up high at all. I'm just going to put one nail there, put one there, and maybe one in the middle. Then we just go ahead and start nailing this off. I'm going to put in that outside edge, I'm probably going to put a nail every 12 inches, 14 inches maybe. And because, you know, when this door is framed, there's always two 2x4s out here. So I don't have to be too picky about what I'm nailing because I'm always going to be hitting something. All right, that turned out pretty well. I do like that really nice thick 1-inch trim where you got a really good shadow line here, and it's a definite improvement from the way the previous door was trimmed, where they just let the trim lap over the siding. It, you know, gives you all kinds of caulking problems and such. So anyway, we got this one done. Now I think we've got like 4 or 5 more to go.